My first project in McKinsey was to actually go and help the CEO of a multi-million dollar offshore company plan their next 5 years of investment. And here I am, zero experience in business. I didn't have a P&L before. The most parts where people fail in this is where people jump very quickly to the solution because they are just answering the wrong question. The human strategist stays. They just have the AI tools to make them supercharge them into super strategists.
Welcome to Beyond the Job Description. I am your host, Amit Morya. Today, we are taking on one of the most coveted roles for high achievers, consulting and corporate strategy. For most of the graduates, it is the holy grail, the ticket to C-suite, business travel, and high-stakes decision-making. However, strategy at its core is looking at the noise, finding patterns, and solving the most complex and ambiguous problem a business can face. To help us understand this role and how to be successful in this career path, we have to look at people who build those systems. Our today's guest brings a completely unique intellectual framework to the business world. He started his career by studying the molecular behavior by doing the PhD in chemical engineering. Later on, he took that scientific approach to Exxon. And after that, he applied it for Fortune 500 turnaround as an engagement manager at McKinsey. Today, he's working for one of the big tech trying to solve and help them navigate in this AI era. Ranojoy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Amit. Glad to be here.
Ranojoy, I want to start by asking and to know more about the intellectual framework of this role itself. You yourself bring in a scientific approach to this career path, whereas most of the graduate believes that the top tier consultants are being minted at top tier business school. How does the scientific background provided you an edge over the others in this particular field? And specifically for the young graduates who are not PhDs in engineering and wants to be successful, then how they should develop this hypothesis-driven muscle before they take up their first consulting role?
Thank you, Amit, for the question. I think it's a very relevant question, especially for young graduates coming out of college, because this is definitely still one of the most attractive career paths to do a strategy role, either in a top tier consulting firm or in big tech or any other company which has a very big corporate strategy team, right? I would think about this career as being what I call the ability to effectively deconstruct problems more than anything. Now, if you think of that as being the necessity for that role, what you need to understand is that you build that muscle through various things. In B school, which still today is one of the major contributors of candidates to the industry of strategy or to consulting, they teach you that in a very, very systematic manner.
Right.
A PhD does the same as well because you're looking at technical problems to do the same deconstruction into smaller, effective, solvable modules, which you can then stitch together to solve a bigger problem. So, in a sense, you're all solving the same thing. I would highly encourage people to think first that is this the kind of role you want to do? And if you want to do that, get this habit into your day-to-day work, whether be it at school, whether even in your engineering or law or music, whatever you do, how do you break problems down? How do you solve them at the solvable level? As long as you build that muscle, you don't have to be in a B school or do a PhD to do that. It is a very systematic and structured way. I think that is the critical part that is needed if you want to be successful in a career in strategy.
So your advice to the people who would like to build their career in consulting is to be able to deconstruct a problem. My follow-up question to is how to do that? Because imagine that you have been assigned a consulting assignment and you are in a room which is full of veterans, the people who are who's and who's of the industry. You have zero authority over them, but at the same time, it is expected out from you is to influence the direction of the company. How to build credibility with this audience while you were the youngest in the room?
Absolutely. And one thing to understand is being the youngest in the room and also the one with probably the least experience of the business.
Yes.
Not a very suitable combination, right?
Yeah.
To be the one asked to solve the problem.
Yeah.
That is what you get as being a strategy person.
Mhm.
Now, the problem is exacerbated even more when you are in consulting because you brought in from external
Correct.
part to look at that. But I would say that what is important in such situations, for me, at least from my personal experience, because my first project in McKinsey was to actually go and help the CEO of a multi-million dollar offshore company plan their next 5 years of investment. And here I
Okay.
am,
Yeah.
zero experience in business. I didn't have
Yeah.
a P&L before, with zero idea of how 5-year P&Ls work, how you do NPV down the road, and how, by the way, would you take shareholders' money and invest in that, right? Here I'm asked to do that.
Yeah.
You will face situations. You're absolutely right. In that case, what you do really is you have to first realize and believe that the person in the room know more about the business than you. Your job is to understand from them what the real problem is. Because to your point, when senior people are in the room, a lot of times their questions on the face mean something, but there is an underlying 9 layer beneath that. It's very akin to what we call the iceberg model, right? 9/10 of it is below the surface. Your job as a consultant or as a strategy person is to uncover that and get to the root of the problem. For that, you've got to deploy what is called, very commonly called, active listening. You've got to listen, you've got to understand, you've got to comprehend what it is before you start solving. And Amit, to be honest, from my experience, what I've seen is the most parts where people fail in this, it's important, is where people jump very quickly to the solution because they are just answering the wrong question.
Okay.
Sometimes the biggest thing
Yeah.
is to understand the question and answer. So, in a sense, I would say active listening, which helps you connect with the stakeholder whom you're trying to solve the problem for. Once you have that buy-in, the solutioning becomes a collaborative effort. So that ultimately leads to success. This is especially true with senior leaders, by the way. They want to drive it, they just need you to guide them in the right direction.
Now, it is a very good segue into my follow-up question is about how to get in. For a longest period in time, the entry barrier to get into a strategy role is that you have to master the standard business case solution framework. Now the businesses are moving too fast. In that kind of an environment, what are the new alpha signal you look at it while evaluating candidates? I want to understand from you.
I have a very, maybe I'll go a little bit into my, on the personal side as well. I was at an open house just the day before yesterday for one of my children who's going to go to secondary school. And one of the questions I had with the academics program coordinator of that school here was that, is there a subject called critical thinking and design in the school? I was very happy to hear that along with academics, our traditional science, maths, and everything, they are actually introducing cross-functional thinking as a topic. And it really impressed me because end of the day, to your point about the barrier to entry, right?
Correct.
There are multiple barriers to entry to this profession. Obviously, one of them is where you're coming from, right? Which is you want to go to a good school. It's very normal for the top tier firms or the top tier companies to try and look at academic excellence. So that is reflected in where you come from. So that's a given. I'm not going to say that that is not important. That is equally important. You should strive for it. But that alone is not enough. Along with that, you need to be able to communicate, deconstruct problems, think, explain your thinking to people, because that is going to be very, very important when you get into the interview stage where you talk to people about trying to do a strategy role. So both of these are important. I think what you've got to try and do is build up your muscle on one hand, which is going to be important, connect with people, build your network. At the same time, obviously try for the topmost universities or wherever you want to go. but do not undermine the ability to understand how you do critical thinking and problem solving. It's very, very important.
Right. And it becomes even more important in this AI era. The artificial intelligence is becoming more and more capable of doing the computational work, starting from doing the deep research, identifying the patterns. But as this work is getting completely automated, what is the human side of human strategist is evolving?
No,
Is it the critical thinking alone or something else is equally important?
absolutely, Amit. And I was hoping when the AI question would come up, because you cannot have a conversation about careers today without understanding
Absolutely.
how
Yeah.
AI is going
Yeah.
to disrupt, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it happens to not just young
Yeah.
professionals, happens to young students, it happens to everyone who's in their
True.
day job. We have got to evolve. I think there are, let's first unpack this a little bit, right? There are three grounding facts or three hypotheses that I personally believe in. Number one, AI is here to stay. As much as we don't like it, if we may not like it, we may think it's disruptive, it is here to stay. It is only going to get better. So we might as well accept that fact. Number two is that those who are able to master the art of using AI are the ones who are going to be in demand. At some point, prompt engineering was a big thing, right?
Correct.
Essentially, even recently
Yeah.
now. So the ability to master AI is going to be a game changer in the upcoming era as careers evolve. Number three, which is quite contrary to what we just said, is that deep content knowledge, however much AI can delve deep into it, there will be no substitute for having depth in the content knowledge, which be it business, be it academics, right? You cannot forego that and expect AI to give you that. And you
Right.
understand why I say that, right? So I think back to the role of the junior analyst. So earlier when I started consulting, a lot of the role that junior analysts would play would be just assimilate a whole bunch of data, build a bunch of Excel files, run some pre-established models, come up with scenarios and do that. Can AI automate that? Yes, today. And for good reason. I would
Yeah.
rather have, say, people who have joined consulting to do problem solving and critical thinking. That is not critical thinking. Critical thinking is once you get an answer and you get
Yeah.
some patterns, understanding and probing deeper what it is. So actually, what will happen is that that role is going to evolve over time and evolve in a positive way in the direction of what you wanted to do, probably when you wanted to come into consulting. So I think my advice will be understand how AI can help, figure out ways by which you should upskill yourself to leverage AI to drive insights better more than anything else. At the same time, please do not undermine the fact that you've got to go deep on the topic, read up about businesses, read up where you want to go. You've got to have that solid base because real time, as
Yeah.
much as it may be, it's not there yet. You've
Yeah.
got to have conversations with people. AI will not help direct conversations with people,
Yeah.
which is a very, very critical part of the role of a strategist. So the human strategist stays. They just have the AI tools to make them supercharge them into super strategists, maybe, if I were to put it.
I like this term super strategist. And second thing that I got from your answer is that you should be the one who's directing the AI and getting the best out of it. Because you are absolutely right. AI is very good at coming up with an answer, but whether that answer is correct or not, the onus is on you because you are going to own that answer and taking to your client or to your stakeholders.
Absolutely. And I think, listen, end of the day, I distinctly remember when I joined McKinsey, one of the
Okay.
things that was said, right?
Yeah.
We always hear consultants make great presentations. Right? That's
Right.
kind of the norm. We kind of think
It is true.
It is. It's. I think, and you know why it is why the presentations come out good. No one asks why, right? And by the way, not all consultants make good slides. I'm not saying I'm one of them, but anyway, the why it is good is because their thinking is very clear and it reflects on what the message comes out on the slide. So actually the slide is just text. It's what you say on the slide is the human part of it is probably the one that takes it a notch above. So I would definitely, I agree with what you say that, you have to, you are the one who's asked for the solution. You can use whatever AI you have. You've got to take the decision. The decision still lies with us to decide.
Correct, correct. So, Ranojoy, one of the interesting part of your career is that you have done both. You have been a consultant and later on you moved into corporate strategy role. by joining Dell, and now, right, you are working for a big tech likes of Google. For a young graduate, or most of the graduate right now, at this point in time, are usually confused that whether they should get into a pure advisory role in McKinsey, BCG, Bain, or directly go into a corporate strategy role in Fortune 500. What is your advice to them, and how should they decide that what path would be best for them?
That's a fair question. And I am sure that, a lot of people looking at this podcast will be asking, like, tell me, give me an answer.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
You are a
I
consultant,
am-
so that is
I am-
expected out of you.
Yes, as a true consultant in the true consulting team, I'm not going to give you an answer. I'm going to lay the facts in front of you.
Yeah.
No, I mean, in all seriousness, though, both these careers are good careers. Let's talk about what each career brings, though, right? And then the decision, I think you have a second question there, right? Is how do you decide? It's
Yeah,
not just what it
yeah,
brings, right?
yeah.
So the first part of it, a consulting career, especially in the MBBs, what you get is that you get a lot of breadth. You get a lot of experience working across multiple industries, across multiple kinds of problems. You also understand the value of speed because the engagements are costly, which means you've got to deliver them in a much shorter period of time than compared to what a internal strategy team would be expected to deliver at. So you are constantly juggling this balance between accuracy and speed to deliver to get to an outcome. It's a different muscle. Frankly, when I moved from PhD to this, that was the biggest challenge I had because I was always tuned to find the most accurate answer. But then over here in consulting, when I came, I realized that I have to balance between what is good enough and what is perfectly accurate. And the good enough was sometimes good enough for the answer that we are trying to do. On the other hand, a corporate strategy role, such as in the big tech or Fortune 500, gives you the ability to go deeper on a certain topic because you have time, number one.
Yeah.
And more importantly, what it allows you is to have a lot more detailed interaction with the actual business people. Because the reality, the best strategists believe that they know nothing of how to run a business. They
Okay.
want to partner with the business people because the business people own the actual operational knowledge. What they are doing is they are putting a good bit of structure and pushing the boundary and partnering with them. That's why it's called a strategy partner more than
Yeah.
anything else, right? So I would think that that's the benefit of being in corporate strategy. Now, I think it boils down to the individual, what they want to do. If you're not decided on an industry and you want to experience all, go into consulting. You will get an idea of how each of the different industries work. You will get a better appreciation of maybe I want to go into the financial industry or the industrials industry, right? I'm more of engineering, construction is my core. I want to get deeper into that. Or numbers and investments are my core, depending on what it is. So that is a great choice for people who are not very sure at that point in time in terms of the industry. But I have met a lot of people who really know that, I want to get into the healthcare industry.
Yeah.
I really want to drive better healthcare for people. There is a social purpose to that.
Yeah.
In that case, get into one of the bigger companies. You will have access to technology and you won't be at the surface like a consulting firm. So you weigh out what you want, what your interests are, and match it against these, would be my advice.
Nice. This is very profound when you said that the best strategists believe that they don't know anything about the business or they know a little about the business. Ranojoy, you have break down the myths about this role for our audience. And to close this out, I would like to ask you a last question. You have solved complex problems across energy, hardware, consulting, and digital advertising. Across all these varied industries, what one intellectual habit or mindset helped you to continually adapt and lead?
I believe in this philosophy of these two words that I have always followed as a mindset, which is why not?
Why not?
Why not? And I have exercised that throughout both personal and professional decision making. I mean, when I was in undergrad, I had a choice of MBA, similar to what you said, or a PhD.
PhD, yeah.
I was like, PhDs in US, why not? Let's try it. It's out of my comfort zone. A track to an IIM was an easy one. The a lot of people took,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
That was the first why not. Then getting from there into ExxonMobil, I had never done oil and gas. It was my first time to ever think of that upstream. As a chemical engineer, you think downstream most of the time, right?
Yeah.
For me, it was upstream was new. I didn't even know what upstream meant. I was like, but let me go, try out, why not? And it was a great experience. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Then similarly, moving into McKinsey, then from there, having so many years of experience in industrials and energy, moving into tech, digital marketing, which I have no idea of. I have an idea now, but when I joined, I was new to that field. But I always liked that, why not? And then moving to a different country. I had worked in US a lot. Now I wanted to work in Asia, which itself was a very big change. So this mindset of why not and the appetite to learn has always held me in good stead. Back to that AI question that you had, things will change, industry will change. We will have many more breakthroughs that come in that can revolutionize the way people work and revolutionize the skill set required to do well in a career. However, if you have a mindset of being okay to change, being okay to learn, roll up your socks, I don't think that that's going to be a challenge. So that was what has helped me so far.
So it's a good phrase, why not? And I will also try to imbibe this thought process going forward. Thank you, Ranojoy, for deconstructing this role for us and sharing your career journey with us, your playbook with us. And to our audience, see you in the next episode. Till then, keep leveling up.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Ranojoy.